I actually think it may be the perfect sized city. Um,
Yeah, yeah. From like Utrecht itself is like a village a little bit. It's like a
mhm,
village with all the facilities of a city.
exactly,
So like
exactly.
very dense. You can live very close to the center, but you can stay kind of. You can have the privacy and the anonymity you can have in a big city, but also you can have sort of the feeling that you're in the middle of it. That's why I love it.
Yeah, I went there. A couple of friends of mine live there, so I've been there a couple of times, and it's a fabulous place. You can walk in the city, of course. You can cycle very easily, and in the Netherlands, the connections mean that you can get into Amsterdam, Rotterdam, like no problem. Like literally, it would be as long as a tube ride in London. So easy.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a very high quality of service. So what you have here is like the right mix between like metropolitan and being outside, doing private things. Love it.
Yeah,
Come again.
absolutely. So, folks, we are also on the side. We are also on the tourist board for Utrecht, and we are saying that we should go and visit Utrecht because it is a perfectly sized city. This is what we think. Um,
Wow, city
we,
marketing right there.
we should absolutely do it. I think a lot of people struggle with sizing of city, too small, too big, whatever. There's an optimal. I think Utrecht has it. So check it out, folks. Okay, welcome everyone to Founders Focus. It's episode 43. Folks, this is one of the favorite things that I like to do. And the reason why is because it's just so interesting speaking to entrepreneurs that are building the technology, changing the world of work today. Most people complain about recruiting, they complain about work, they complain about all of those things. But guess what? We go back and do exactly the same the next day. Who are the people that actually get so outraged that they think it's a good idea to create a software or a solution that actually changes this? I think they're unusual people. I love speaking with them. And today we actually have one of them on screen with us. So welcome to Founders Focus, Reiner Bruns, CTO of Scotty AI. Reiner, great to have you on the show.
Fantastic intro. Thanks, Hang. I love it. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Let's get started on this. Firstly, you're a very busy man. So, what did you have to cancel in order to attend today's show?
Only internal meetings, luckily, so those are easy to cancel. But a solution design session for a bot is going to go live in 2 weeks, so it's mildly important. But we're a startup; you got to wing it, I guess.
Yeah, this is the startup privilege of C level. But I'm always conscious of, okay, because it's a crazy moment when you are like a young company growing fast with a very innovative solution. You have to do everything. And of course, there's only 24 hours in the day to do it. I guess one of the key priorities is how do you, as a C level person, understand the things that you have to do and the things that you've got to say no to when everything feels like a priority? Like, do you have a framework for deciding what gets done and what actually gets neglected?
Now you heard already, huh? Clients first. If you're a startup, you need to prioritize your clients in some shape or form, also your investors and your users. But personally, at the moment, because we are, yeah, frankly, we're exploding. It's work more and don't deprioritize the wrong things. For us right now, if you look at this, of course, everything agile, but you have to understand that we are connecting as a very small company, like we're 35 people, 40 people or so, and we have very flat hierarchy. So our C-suite is small and leadership is small. So we have very strong communication culture internally. But for the rest, it's yeah, people got to push for priorities on for me for Stan, like that's how it is. It's the bloody reality that you can't really add hours to the day. I mean, stuff is going to fall off the wagon. I'm sorry.
No, I get the sense. So for folks who don't know Scotty AI, and we will talk about the product a little bit and the vision a little bit later in the conversation, Rainer. But let me just give an overview to the audience who may be unfamiliar with it. Essentially, Scotty is there to introduce recruitment automation into as many of those places as can be done. And of course, there's not a recruiter right now on the planet that is not thinking about automation and optimization. So the market is hot for what the solutions that you're offering. So it doesn't surprise me that the demand is excessive at this point. And you've got that need to try and service and deliver against those. We might as well talk a little bit about what that demand is actually. Are there any particular requests that you're getting from customers or from the market that you're seeing, okay, this is the area where customers are seeing automation has the greatest impact?
Good question. There's this balance between those stakeholders I was talking about, like users, so candidates, recruiters, hiring managers. They have certain needs or drivers, and then you also have the people paying for it, the clients, that usually sometimes are connected by a level or two, and that makes that you have requirements very, very often on the risk and compliance side. You're working with people data. You need to be aware that a UK business would prefer UK data sovereignty or data placed in the UK. A German business would prefer it in Germany, even though the market is harmonized. It's about the perception and the trust that people have into this. And then you have these, okay, we are such a big company. We have this or that ATS or this or that HCM. Do you have 10 references for this to work in production scenarios at 10 Fortune 500 companies? And then you will recognize that as a startup, we can say we can do it, but can we show something like that? That's always like this balance between what companies expect from startups and scale-ups versus.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? That's an interesting thing, because when you're doing new things as a new company, inevitably you're not going to have a track record in the same way that an IBM might, or a big software company might. But of course, they're the ones that are not doing the innovation simply because there's too much weight in the service delivery that they already have. But in terms of like the demand of what customers are looking for, is there any particular area of the recruiting pipeline that they're trying to optimize? For instance,
Oh,
is it sourcing? Is it communication? Is it scheduling? Like where are you getting the sense from the
oh,
market there?
all of the above. Particularly there, what you have is what feels safe is top of the funnel screening for people, right? They have this feeling that they're sort of transferring a form to a very, very, very intelligent form that you can have a bi-directional conversation with, that also will track a process. And those things feel safe because it's blue collar. At least that's how it feels to me sometimes, even though I would not separate, let's say, blue and white collar work there. But okay, it's what they feel. And also what you said, like all these busy work tasks, interview scheduling and management, pasting around information, but also things around, like you have stuff in your HCM that you should have had in your ATS, and somehow you need to sort of verify this. This is a really boring master data management case, super, super boring, but super everywhere. So there you'll see that the businesses typically want to be they want to be eased into it. They want to try this out. There's a lot of this seeing is believing sort of mentality, which I totally understand. I mean, in the past, people have been sold on very long transformation projects. So that is a challenge, surely. But also it's good because the feedback cycles have been gotten short and business is very upfront. I was on a call before this, very, very upfront share already. Okay, I have these stakeholders. They have these KPI that are connected to recruiting, right? They're connected to recruiting, or that are connected to talent acquisition or HR at large, but that have other drivers in the organization, because we sell to matrices, right? So there's a high diversity of stakeholders with a high diversity of wants and needs. And it's up to like most of my team, to translate those things down into what can we deliver at the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
A statement of work needs to be filled and needs to be delivered upon, as boring as that. But there is, when you come, like the cases you mentioned, they will be easy sells. But then there's also gems in there where users say like, hey, I have this workforce and you're recruiting people for me, and that's really great. And we have a successful case. It's Postinella I'm talking about here. So that successful case is leading to sort of a land and expand type of thing, where they say like, hey, you're doing this here in recruitment for us, so you're talking to our people, but you should be, now you can be doing this other thing for us, which could be deeper into the HR domain or in the people management domain. So It's that,
I
yeah.
absolutely see. Yeah, I mean, basically, uh, it's one of those where when you create the use case internally, it may become very obvious to other stakeholders within a business that actually here's an optimization that is a no-brainer, so to say. Because as you say, a lot of the it's almost like an incomplete digitization. I mean, I think if we're old enough to people who are old enough to kind of remember when pre-internet to internet type of transition. And I hope you don't mind me saying, Reiner, you're probably of that generation like me, where we encountered this. And we have not completed this, right? So there's still paper in buildings, there's still filing cabinets, all that stuff is still there, it's incomplete. And it could be that AI is like actually going to finally close the loop on this, because you can feed all of that information into a system. Suddenly we can organize it. It solves the too much data problem, so to say, because we know one thing that AI can do is just crunch an enormous amount of data in a very short period of time. There's one basic level of capability it has, it is that. And so it might actually get us finally to a properly digital world. So very interesting. Let me take you back a couple of years, Reiner. How did Scotty AI start? What was the moment when you realized, actually, I need to build something here?
So, break me if I start rambling, but um, so 2000, no, before 2019, I've worked in startups before. I worked at startups before. I've had a startup before. I also worked at a system integrator before. So when you look at this, for me, it was always okay. I will eventually start something in the future. From the onset, that's the mindset. So when I was working at a product company that did conversational AI, Amelia they're called, or IPsoft from New York, I had exposure to a great many conversational AI projects that led me past banks, automotive industry, really cool use cases. And I liked it, but it was an American company and I was here. And you know how it is when you visit Google and talk to your account manager at Google, they tell you we have tons of engineers here, but if you want something to happen, it needs to go to the US. So that happened there as well, where I had feedback and ideas, was young and hungry, maybe foolish, surely foolish, to do something else. So I gathered a group of people that I then let vote. And then what happened is they said like, oh, starting a business, maybe not a good idea. So I did another rodeo at a system integrator where I did work in the same business, where I had a lot of control over what was happening. So I was automating contact centers there. Fantastic. Loved it. Conversational AI on the phone, on chat, airlines, insurers, great stuff. Fast forward, at the end of that again, I was like, I want to start something. And, if you work at a system integrator, you have to work from the perspective that you want to be in a project, that you want to be utilized. The man in the middle model, where the system integrator wants you 80% off bench, or 85 ideally. So I was not building anything there either. And then, long story short, in 2019, I got to consult a prospect that didn't want to work with that system integrator on how should we automate a large-scale enterprise contact center in the Nordics at PostNord. And I gave them advice from a sort of freelance starting perspective, and they said, "Yeah, we want it. Whatever you told us there, we didn't get most of it, but sounds great. Can you build it?" And then we jumped on a really cool journey with PostNord 2019, 2020, where we basically, as a software house, very, very low risk consulting, design, development of a conversational AI platform, first as a chatbot, then as a voice bot. You will recognize some of the aspects of Scotty there, right? Some of the aspects were already there. But then, since then, we have been pivoting more towards SaaS, right? And since then, it's like 2021. Unfortunately, this little thing, Corona, got in the way. 2020, 2021. We were taking what was the software house there and trying to find a product market fit. I knew nothing of recruitment then. I still know very little, but probably my technology probably has recruited more people than most recruiters, but I'm not I wouldn't call myself a recruiter in this sense. So what happened then, and this is the important moment there. I mean, starting a business is really important, yes, but the main pivot started to manifest when a temp and staffing agency from the Netherlands came to us and said, we heard you can do phone calls. Heard you can do texting. We're like, yeah. Can you also do that outbound? We're like, yeah. Like, could you, talk to our people and talk to our candidates? Yes, we can. And that's where the journey started towards HR first. We did a lot on the workforce management, on the shift planning and shift switching, all this administrative coordinator work. Super successful cases. And then very, very soon they came to us and said, like, hey, but we have these 600,000 people in our database. We don't know if they're alive or not and what they want from us. So we try to email them, but they don't respond. Can you do more? And that we did. So like basically we're getting from HR into talent acquisition. And then last year we had the fantastic, great luck of running. I mean, we were working with Stanislav Vasovic before in his other function, but we had the great luck that he was, looking for, new things to do and got excited about us. So basically yeah, that gave us 100% focus on what is talent acquisition and brought us where we are now. And Stan, so
Well,
there's
how can you not know Stan? And yeah, absolutely, a force of nature in the industry, and very interesting to see that journey you went through. So initially, it was a kind of delivery of service. You had the technical skills to go and deliver solutions as consultancy. Consultancy then became more like a product. Particularly in one aspect, a contact center. I think that was the classic case where
yeah,
conversational interfaces started to emerge. I think we could probably trace it there in the contact center
yeah,
space. It's also the most obvious place where a chatbot adds value
yeah,
because it's been proven to work. And then kind of the understanding that, yes, maybe we can use this in a recruiting context and beyond. I mean, it sounds like if you can have conversations in an automated way, this could reactivate not only candidates in a database, but anybody that has a database.
yeah,
It could be a state agent, it could be any sales in scenario, any marketing scenario. You could create a more intelligent way to basically reactivate dormant data and revive it.
or destroy it, basically ask, hey, Hang, and then you're like, stop talking to me, which people think is a negative reaction, but it gave you a choice and then got your record deleted in some cases. That's what we're used for. It's good. You didn't know your record was there. They get in touch with you and say, hey, your record is here. Can we do something? And then you say no. Then
now, now,
then we remove you from there. That's also it's a hygiene thing in that case.
Now this is the German in you coming out in true colors, Reiner. How do we make sure we delete data? But absolutely correct, because how much data is being? I mean, I would say most companies out there of any particular size are probably in breach of GDPR.
All the time, all the time.
It's just this carrying data anywhere. We're not on top of it, and actually, I think it's impossible to get on top of it without an AI, because you're just even people right now who are listening to this conversation, there's probably data you have on just automatically stored on email, or you have some data there that you haven't decided to sell or anything, but you haven't deleted it after 6 months because you should. So okay, you need a bot to help you clean this up. So I think even if that's a narrow use case as a GDPR data cleanser, Scotty AI can do that job. Yeah, I mean, I think it actually will help evolve how we do nurture and candidate relationship management and all those types of things, because it isn't a yes, no, are you interested in staying on the database? Everyone's going to say no, they don't want to be on the database. But it's more like, hey, listen, what else can we do for you? Is there other ways in which we could provide value? And let's say you've applied to a company, you like that company, but there wasn't an opportunity that fitted you right then using technology like Scotty can help that organization provide the sort of connections to you that can, that you'd be very interested in, future
Yeah,
opportunities, new career development, new skills that organization
yeah.
is looking to
My contract
bring in.
runs out in my contract runs out in 3 months. And then, oh yeah, can I call you 2 weeks before? Right?
Love
Yeah,
it.
it's very, very easy to do. Sorry.
Yeah, and it sounds like staffing may be the obvious place to put it, particularly on the temporary side, or because of that frequency of turnover or churn with the labor force. Previously it would all be on the phone or it'd be on some sort of dumb system, but again, that's a huge amount of recruitment work that doesn't need to be there.
Totally. And do you see use cases, for instance, where these kind of businesses go over great length to acquire seasonal workers or candidates seasonally that already worked for them in the past, but that they deleted after the season, and then they acquire again through the channels, right? Where you think like, okay, I mean, sure, Indeed is happy, but or portals like those, but you already knew them and they were already working for you, so maybe have a look there.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, this can be very frustrating for the candidate also,
Yeah,
because the candidates themselves, and I say as they, but it's also us. We on the one side want companies to delete our data just as a instinct, but then we get outraged when there's no personalization coming at us. So it's like, um, you
yeah,
can't have them both. I think I think we'll mature beyond this. We're going to go. So we've gone
great
down
point.
the privacy route and that, but I think we also will get to a maturation where we say, you know what, we have to allow companies to maintain some sort of information if we want personalization. Otherwise, we're just going to have to accept and stop complaining about mass market treatment, because how else are
Yeah.
companies? No. So yeah. Okay. Let's talk about leadership, Reiner, because one key difference between being a employee or being a solo entrepreneur or being a consultant is suddenly you have a team of people you need to manage. And in fact, being a founder of a company is even more different, because you've got all this type of additional sort of expansion of scope. You're part of your business. You've put your effort in there. You're not managing on behalf of another employer, for instance. This is your company. How did you sort of learn sort of sorry, I'm actually in as a motion sensor with a light here. So if people are thinking, why is Hung going light and dark? So I've got to wave my hand underneath the desk here. But okay, how do you develop your management skills? I mean, are there any particular ways that you've learned over the last couple of years where you think, actually, these are my management strengths? And then, what are your management areas that you need to work on?
Plenty. I like okay. Leadership is a tough one because it's so important for companies to be able to sort of for their leaders to mature with the company, right? So I think there's this model by Gergely Orosz, who is like a developer advocate, CTO advocate, and I think he classifies, and I don't want to misquote here, but he classifies, let's say, chief technology officers in sort of three parts, or three levels. So the first level is the solution architect, developer, delivery manager, client engagement manager, the guy who can go to the client, get the requirements, and somehow make it happen. It's the pioneer that you send out with that wagon to the west, and they probably don't come back. And that's fun. It's a really, really fun role, to build stuff, break things all the time. It's constant crunch time, it's constant sweating, and it's all chewing gum and duct tape, to be honest. It's fun. It's fun. Also stressful. Don't want to recommend doing it too long. And then you start onboarding people, and that is sort of the scaling CTO, and scaling in a very modest sense. I don't mean scaling from 1 to 10,000. I mean scaling from 3 to 10 to 15. When in one go you get things like communication, responsibilities, roles, what are, how they're separated. And that is where I was quite experienced in the past, because I've always delivered technology. I've always delivered products, service platforms, and stuff like this, and for the last 20 years. So that was natural for me. So the first part I loved doing, second one was natural, but now we're getting also more to the everything breaks once you triple in size. So like broke twice or thrice already. And now like we're again at a phase where we are scaling like crazy, where things are breaking a lot, and also things are changing a lot at the same time. So we're not only changing the engines of the plane while we're flying it, we're also changing the seats, also the whole fuselage, and also we're trying to land it at the same time and take on like it feels everything is happening at the same time. And then that is, I have to say, that's tough. We have a good strategy for this, but I'm really, I'm not religious or so, but I still feel blessed. I'm very thankful or grateful for the network we've built around us of pundits, but also of people that help us understand what we should be doing next on the product side of things. But then translating is, we luckily have in our circle of owners and investors, and that's important. We have people that help us up level our game. And I mean, I'm quoting an investor here, I think, or I'm quoting Stan here, but to build a seriously big business, right? So that's where we want to go, and I will have to learn a lot on that way. I guess only for a year now we've been really looking at things like staffing plans. Super, super, super boring, right? That's so the level 3 CTO level, where you need to look at budgets, accomplishments over time, product increments, get the teams move like product from left to right, or for you guys from left to right, and basically become more of a have a lot less direct influence on things. And that's where I'm not struggling, but it's a challenge.
No, it's a new experience, right? This is again, you talk about maturation of the organization and the need for the leaders to mature with it. That's exactly the journey of startup. And it's one where I think it's just fascinating to see, some of those things you won't enjoy, some of those things you will, and you'll discover new opportunities and new areas to explore as you personally move on into those spaces. Would you say you've learned anything about people management in sort of the journey that you're in now? I mean, obviously the journey has not reached a final destination, so you keep on learning, but is there one lesson that you've learned that you didn't know, let's say in 2019, about how to manage or lead a team?
No. Well, what will be hopefully resonating with this group is, it is extremely important who you hire and on what positions you hire them for, and then how you onboard them and enable them to do their work. We have learned the very, very hard way that mistakes there can cascade into utter disasters. That take a lot of remediation, a lot of repair, where thinking about it before, really figuring out profiles, really figuring out what we want those new people to do with us. Also already start that from the point where they're candidates, and also work with their colleagues on what they expect to work with. If you're a small company like ours, again, like 35 people or so, there's like people work really, really close, like an architect level, somebody with like my level of experience, very, very sophisticated software engineering skills, has to work with someone who's customer facing. And there's sort of the rapport between the handshakes between those teams. That is where we are constantly trying to work on, right? And there also, we as a leadership team, we are constantly having to like be on top of it, because if you just let it slide, it just goes like in a very negative sense.
Yeah.
So and then in terms of people management, very, very simple. I like self-organizing teams because I come from software. I like people to see the work, understand the work, see the mission, understand the mission. So I like OKRs, I like scaled agile, and I like people to basically drive the development they're doing. That's in a nutshell, right? You would find that in any kind of like agile modern organization best practices, and there's some buzzword bingo around it if you want to, but it comes down self-organizing teams that really love and know what they're doing, and that we try to find and also try to instill in our people. It sounds really cheesy,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's how it is.
No, very interesting, Reiner. Particularly, I like the kind of how you sort of describe the requirement to get the team involved early on the candidate side and almost to have a negotiation pre-employment as to what this person will be doing. So in other words, rather than having a very tight fixed definition and forcing people into a role, let's engage with the candidates. Let's understand what it is that they are offering and kind of have the ability to figure it out collaboratively before you on board, because I think a big part of the problem in recruiting is exactly that we kind of want to force people into a definition. People might resist that, or worse, they might trick themselves that they can do it, or they trick us that they can do it, and in the end that becomes very, very painful. Because it's not how they would want to work. So, I mean, I learned that myself in terms of, people's working styles, for instance. I didn't learn about working styles until I actually was a manager. And then I realized, what, some people do have a way they prefer to work, and it's not a casual preference. It's actually a deep commitment, maybe even in an innate way of working. So it may not be something that is something you can coach or train out of, and you've just got to know how that person prefers to operate. Give you an example real quick. One of my good friends, genius level developer in my opinion, really a fantastic, is a guy that basically create an app in 24 hours by himself, completely 100% full stack. However, he needs chaos to operate.
Yeah.
Right, he needs chaos to operate. So if you give him too narrow a thing, do this A B C D E, no good. He'll immediately start destroying it because he needs to kind of
Or you
create the
promote
space
them
to
to
operate.
manager. You promote them to manager. The worst thing you could be doing, probably.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think management is him, but he needs to just operate with that sense of freedom. And when you can create that environment where that works, then he's amazing. And then again, there's other people that actually are very, very good delivery focused folks that actually just need some guardrails, and then they're going to be amazing. So I think a lot of this is about personalities and why we human beings aren't as fungible as we think they are. That we carry a lot of personality into everything we're doing, and we just got to recognize that and be honest with it.
yeah.
Okay, let's talk about interviewing then, Reiner. I mean, this is particularly how you interview people. So C-level, obviously you're using Scotty to do all of the stuff. I mean, I'm sure supporting around the background. But in terms of you're coming in, you're making a decision on a candidate. What kind of questions do you like to ask that person? Are there any things that any questions that you prefer to ask at an interview that you think gets the person out, and you get some understanding as to how they operate?
What we missed asking candidates of everyone we basically hired, so like the negative starting point first is we missed. We have a great team now. We very little churn. We're very happy about that. But we missed to ask our candidates, hey, do you know what you're getting into? We are building a seriously big business. We are extremely ambitious. We all of us love what we do, and we'd like people to join the boat. But it's going to be a hell of a lot of rowing going on. So, are you? And it's not the hidden question. Do you want to make a lot of overtime? No, not that. But do you want to? Can you expose and can you bring into the sense of the level of ownership that's necessary to build something from nothing? Right? Not in a biblical sense, but to start creating something that creates value for a very large, for a very large ecosystem. And that takes commitment and more just ticking boxes, right? Like you would fill in a profile of a candidate, right? So fill in these fields in Workday, right? But I wouldn't say you're done now, because you really need to understand is like, who are we hiring? Or like, who are we hiring for? What are they going to be doing? How are they going to be developing with us. We have rebranded roles in our organization like 7 times in the last 3 years or so. Like certain roles where we say like, oh, you're this now, oh, you're that now. Is it cool? Right. So you need to have people that are able to have this level of flexibility, like, or I want to say mental agility or so, to be able to say like, okay, I don't have an ego. I just want to be part of this, and I'm gonna just push. And that is, very, very, that's, something I would say AI will have a hard time finding still. But, you need to have a convincing answer there. Technical capabilities, those we have always fixed in the past. We've always managed to get somebody to the level we wanted them to, or we hired for the right level there, right? It's just basically putting money where your requirement is and said, okay, we are trying to get skills out of a person that can't have the skills by length of tenure or length of career. So, okay, I guess we're going to hire a senior guy. It's going to be 50 times more expensive or 80 times more, whatever. Right. So that's also this realization. And then basically in the interview process itself, get the hiring team in quickly. Right. If they talk, our hiring process has been like very simple. I talk to the candidate if I have a good feeling about it, like personal conversation. They got through the filter. We talk to the candidate, figure out if the mindset is in the right place quickly, right? And doubts mean out. And then go very, very quickly into subject matter, checking the skills. And we do those not with assessments tooling, we do those one-on-one, so we can have this conversation with the candidates over a long period of time, record those, understand if they're ticking boxes or if they're really liking what we are asking of them.
Do you know what? I really like the first thing you said, particularly Reiner, about do you know what you're getting involved in? And it reminded me very much of what I consider to be the world's most famous advert still, which was the advert that Ernest Shackleton, the Victorian era explorer, who was exploring the South Pole, published, and it was a Men Wanted advert. And it was quite simply this. I'll read it out to everyone. If people don't know about this, it's actually a really amazing advert. It says, men wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success. That was it. That was the advert.
I love it.
Right?
I love it. I love it.
And he was overloaded with applicants. People wanted to do it. So it was like, okay, what the lesson there from Shackleton was that he it's not to say, look, we're a horror show or a toxic company. No, this is not what we're saying. We're saying there's a mission, a hugely ambitious mission, of which we don't know whether the success is guaranteed, but what is required is a tremendous amount of effort to get there. And therefore, that is what is on the table. We can't guarantee that it's success, but we can guarantee we're going to put all effort to it. Do you want to join? Are you in the boat? And I think that message could be made more clear. In many cases, we've got to be brave enough to say it. But I think in your kind of a circumstance where it is kind of still an early business and you're right on the cusp of all of this opportunity, I see it as a big ocean to conquer. Then that's exactly what you want. Are you on the boat?
Yeah.
On the rocket ship. So yeah, a fantastic thing to hold on to. Let's zoom out a little bit, Reiner. You say you're not sort of a recruiter, which is great, because I think sometimes when you're in industry, we can end up being a lot of like in groupthink because there's so many caveats in every discipline. There's every edge case you have to deal with, and oftentimes we struggle to kind of have a straight conversation about how we think the world is going to go. So I'll be interested to know from your side, as a CTO building recruitment software, like where do you see the world of recruiting, let's say in 5 years down the line? Where do you see it in 10 years down the line? What are the key differences between, let's say, recruiting in 2024 compared to recruiting in 2034?
I have to say, I have to give the asterisk. Good question, but also vision. It's my vision, and if I would know 100%, I'd probably join like a BlackRock or so and just buy half the sector, which is probably a good idea. But so I think it goes more like it zooms out from recruitment, and recruitment is going to adopt some of the changes that are happening right now. So the buzzword du jour is, of course, large language models or generative AI, and what this unlocks. This is still very, very early in this sort of bubble of these technologies. There's still a lot of applications not figured out yet. There's still a lot of like way of working not figured out yet. And I think in the next, let's say, 3 to 4 years, I think 10 years is a really long period of time, to be honest. But the next 3 to 4 years, you will see massive experiments, like from tiny little disasters. Think Nazi bots or I don't know, genocidal AI or something like this, down to just funny, just funny Hopper. We just had a bot say something really stupid, right? That spectrum we'll see a lot of, but we'll also see the massive, like really rapid iteration of use cases. And then if you zoom back into recruitment, if you ask me, if we are now looking at how jobs, how getting into a job, getting to a role, and how, let's say, the mobility of candidates is changing, we'll see. I think we'll see a lot more, and we'll drive towards a lot more of the on-demand. Right. So right now you can now. I don't know where you're based. I should have asked. Sorry, but you could now order a pizza. I can at least. I need to. Huh? So I can now also I can have a drink downtown. I can watch a movie on my TV, and I can rent a bike on demand from the street here or whatever, like an e-scooter in some other places. Everything is shifting to on demand, and I think that finding jobs or people getting into jobs and company getting jobs filled, these cycles are gonna shorten dramatically. It's going to become an on-demand business, and things like these old hurdles, they're going to go away. I'm not a recruiter. I'm following the industry. I'm following you. I follow and I look at what are discussions. So I'm very keen on the whole CV less hiring, or how much of a threshold do you need candidates to have to apply, for instance, or become users to become candidates. And there, I believe there we're going to see some, we're going to see some crazy things, because with now the weapons race on the generative AI side or interactive AI side, where I can produce a beautiful CV, right, very, very easy, and then still suck at the interpersonal skills test. Right. So there we're going to see, like, so the companies, they're increasing their channel width or channel capacity, but also candidates have a massive boost to their channel capacity. Right. If you look at what you can get into GPT Builder right now, that is really good at producing content. But if you, let's say, look at the more down the line technologies that are there, there's going to be a lot of service that will just say, like, hey, talk to me for 10 minutes. And afterwards, I'll be, applying for 50 jobs for you, and I'll make sure that you only talk to the top 1 or 2 that are likely to get. One, you're likely to get, the other one that's insurance. And you'll love all jobs, and you'll love to both.
Yeah, I think the bot-to-bot sort of vision is probably a reality. I don't think that many people would dispute that this is going to happen, because, and this actually would completely change discovery when we think about it, because currently we're kind of trying to do discovery on search engines and the online social media, etc. We're plugging into feeds. That's how we discover stuff. But pretty soon that's going to be overwhelming, because the generative AI is going to overproduce information such that we can no longer actually figure out signal from noise. Maybe it's all signal, therefore it becomes all noise. And we're not able to actually, it'll be overwhelming to us. And so how do we set up a filter against that? We need to just instruct the bot. We'll say, here is what I typically click on, robo-hung, let's say. Here are the website, the videos I typically spend more time on than less. Here are the podcasts I listen to more than less. Here are the messages I respond to more than less. I want you to scan these things when they first encounter it, and then only present to me the ones that I determine, let's say the top 10% of those. And then I think that totally changes our interaction with software, and with information. So we're talking about a complete change of at a consumer level how we do it, and of course that's going to bleed into how it works from a recruitment point of view. How do jobs get sort of discovered? How do people
Yeah,
get discovered?
it's going to be a greater part of your being and your day, but it's going to be more passive, right? There will be something, there will be a function where you will have a much lower threshold to say, hey, I didn't feel so great today. I think I want to do something else. Right, and then a functional machine jumps in. It doesn't have to be a voice bot, right? It doesn't have to be, right? It's something that sits in your mail that sees your conversations, not creepily. I wouldn't find it creepy. Some people might, but they will say like, "Hey, Hung, it looks like you're developing a lot in this direction, and you're having great pleasure from this. Shouldn't we be looking into developing that more?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, please do." It's like, "Hey, these events you should be going to." Right, you should be, maybe here's this YouTube channel, you should be, they have great conversations and they sound like stuff you'd enjoy. And by the way, this company that's really big in this is also hiring, and they're looking for a career bump for you, that an assistant, right? You've heard in the past, I think McKinsey talk about these intelligent virtual assistants, and that was just more like, I think, 2015 or so. You overestimate, and that's what a lot of more on the sales side or on marketing side, you overestimate the speed of these developments, but they're coming, right? So you'll have a thing that will be there and will be personalized to what you just said. If this is what you like, Hung, and if you like spending time like this, I will optimize you spending more time like this. And it doesn't have to be watching movies, right? It can be doing work or having hobbies
Yeah.
or volunteering.
Yeah, I'd love to know what people think about this, because we're also having kind of a sort of a crisis of how much we want to give the sort of crisis of agency. Is that sort of a way to describe it, in the sense that we want the convenience of this, and I'm imagining as you describe it, yeah, you know what, I'd love to have an AI sort a lot of this BS out, because it actually causes me stress to go through it, and I actually have lost confidence in my ability to make the right decision because I'm overwhelmed with information. So why don't we get something that can actually crunch unlimited amounts of information and come up with a better result? Sounds great. But then another voice in my head says, Hung, aren't you like removing or delegating a significant part of your agency to a bot? And can you actually trust this bot to truly have your interest at heart? And this is where we're getting towards, do we want a cloud enabled bot? Do we want it to be on machine? Do we want it on device? Do we even want a completely personalized AI that's isolated from a corporate product or a corporate system, that we can genuinely curate and trust? And this is, again, we're moving down a philosophical sort of route.
Great direction. It's a very important point.
But I think we're going to do that. Like a phone, for instance, we are very intimate with our phones. I've been exploring this to a large degree. Therefore, messages to phones we treat differently from messages to laptop, because laptop is usually work. Most people are looking at laptops for work, or desktops certainly for work. Phone is work and play.
Yeah,
So our psychology is different to device. And I was just thinking that, okay, our intimacy with the phone is probably a step. The next degree of intimacy is going to be with our AI.
totally.
We're going to have a very strong emotional relationship with it. If it's a persistent AI that we carry with us, platform to platform, device to device, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, you're talking about the thing there. It's about, I think, what you're talking about is the dilemma of choice that you're having here. You wanted to do certain things, but you're also afraid of it doing certain things. Also, your preferences might be different from not only device, but also from area in your life.
Mm,
Photos of your family versus, a wireframe of some website you're designing. It's an image, but it's not the same image.
mm,
A conversation where you use a Llama 3, which I've experimented with in completely different shape or form, because I got triggered by somebody saying I built a personal psychotherapist in it. And I had very long conversations with that person, like after they run this for a couple of weeks, and it is eerie. It's very eerie how well of a therapist can be built in it. And I'm not advocating here to fire therapists or stuff, right? And don't, your mileage may vary, but it was eerie, and up down to the point where you have philosophy of mind conversations with ChatGPT with drinks and friends, where there is 3 friends present, 1 phone on the table, and a ChatGPT 4.0 and obviously some beer and rakia. I mean, where you have conversations with the group and GPT-4, and we have not. I think we as users, as a society, and I don't want to make it too big, right? But we have not found the optimal modus operandi here yet. But it comes down to choices. So if we look at, not a plug for Scotty, but I believe it's very important to organize this as open as possible. So the spoils of AI, and that's maybe a little bit martial, but the spoils of AI can go to one. Right, everyone can have a great experience, and everyone can make the choices in their life, and not do again what the whole platformization of the internet has done. Right, if you look at the platformization of the internet, of big providers and players, there's very many things to say about it. But if this happens to AI, you will see now the adoption of AI. Back to your previous question, will it change recruitment? Yes, it will change the whole world extremely dramatically in the next 5 years. We need to, as consumers, as candidates also being consumers, as users, as patients, right? We need to have this. We need to be always aware that we need to demand this thing to fulfill those requirements. Optimizing a little highlight reel of the photos of our kids or family, down to helping us building a mock-up from a wireframe, or screening 10,000 candidates and then go back home. We need to be aware that this is it's like multimodal, not only in terms of how we talk to it, but also multi-agentic. There will be multiple players in this space. There will be multiple technologies that will be actually trying to find their spot here. And I think the user and the end user, so let's say a hiring manager, a recruiter being an end user in the recruitment scenario, but let's say a contact center agent being one in a contact center scenario, there we need to really watch how they use it, and we need to watch how this usage translates to sort of risks, ethical risks, challenges, and that kind of thing. It's a very, we'll come by in Utrecht, I'll buy your drinks, and then we'll talk about it all night.
No, I definitely think we need Rakia to have continued this element of the conversation. But let's bring it back to product and Scotty. Obviously, people who've been watching or listening to this show so far should be aware it is an artificial intelligence service. It is a recruitment automation service. Can you give us some use cases? Because you guys are still quite new. So can you give us some use cases where you can say this actually exemplifies what Scotty can do in a recruitment context?
Yeah, with pleasure. So if you categorize them to value, top of the funnel screening, candidates apply somewhere, no matter white collar, blue collar, temp, seasonal, doesn't matter. You want them to have an interactive experience with your brand. So you want to ask them questions and say, hey, Hung, are you really Hung, and stuff like this in the blue collar scenario? Or hey, can you tell me a little bit more, to gather data from them? And you want at the same time offer them value in return, right? So you want to say, ask me anything about the company you want. I will be able to tell you everything about the hiring process. Also, basically allow these to be filtered quickly. So for the candidate, you can say, hey, you talked to me for 10 minutes. Now you know this is not going to work out. Respectful of your time, respectful of our people's time, you can move on. So top of the funnel screenings in themselves, sourcing type screenings, and interview scheduling.
Has it been deployed anywhere yet, Reiner? Is it possible?
You can assume
can you say?
Yeah, of course. Every of our customers that are live are using this in some shape or form. So in recruitment, when we are doing a recruitment function, there's also contact center functions where we do outbound calls for things like fiber to the home appointments, completely different. And there it is. We're calling people and saying, hey, Hung, we've been digging in your street. We want to put some little box in your home so you have fiber. Can we make an appointment for that? it's similarly because you ask people for preferences, you help them, and then they are about who are you, why are you doing this, can I move my appointment, do I have to be home, is it okay if my kid opens the door, how long will it take, all that. Same thing, right? So who's going to be who's the hiring manager? Can you tell? Do you have any kind of collateral for me to look at videos of what they're doing there? Is there any, can you learn what's the business unit I'm going to be working in? How's the onboarding going to look? Same thing, different use case, but same thing. It is about whenever there's a conversation and that conversation removes human routing. And I sometimes am quoted that I'm cursing on human routing, which I probably am, but I want people to do stuff that matters, to be honest. Yeah, I want them to find what matters. So where they can add something, where they can add value, and where they feel, where they look back at the end of the day and like, oh, this was great. I know that's a high goal, but okay. So those kind of use cases where we need to get someone through a sort of like a process, a transactional journey, we're golden. You will find our use cases completely connected end to end with ATSs, HCMs, ERPs there, and we're doing great. We're doing anything from, hey, Hung, thank you. Great that you've been selected. Can you now please send me a photo of your passport and your driver's license so I can start onboarding you? Like before, yeah.
You need to deploy Scotty AI to BT, British Telecom, right away. Because the reason why I'm actually in this booth today is because BT failed once again to deliver the service they promised. And there's no interaction with it. Like, it's just a dumb chatbot I've got to, do a thing test with, and it's like, come on, I need some better interaction here. So I totally get it. How do people actually? This obviously seems like it's not off the shelf. I need to have there's an implementation required. So the service delivery right now is a case of, look, I need to speak to Scotty. Scotty speaks to me. You guys come on, and we kind of interact. And there's a way we need to integrate a bunch of things before this can happen. Is that right, Reiner?
Yeah, or you could call, it's absolutely, it's enterprise software, and I build enterprise software. So it's not a garden variety SaaS where you would be targeting, let's say, the baker around the corner, and not to talk bad about. But with Scotty, you don't only have to ask about the conversations that's happening there, about the automation that's happening there, but also very often some change that's involved. So we have partners for that. You would look at also that the like integrating with a Workday. While you can write on your Workday on your website that you have a Workday integration, well, you might have a Workday integration, but also there might, like, the customer you're talking to might have spent 10 million on a Workday implementation with Deloitte or so. That's not like your out of the box integration won't work. So yeah, you're right. So customization there's a lot of customization happening there. We're moving more of that towards the customer, and we're moving to all of it essentially to our partners at the moment. But let's say, if you look at this, implementing a really large enterprise use case a year ago was about 6 months, particularly because stakeholder management, getting the whole white space filled in, like going out of recruiting. It's very important, because in recruitment, people are great at recruitment, but you need to go to the CIO to get somewhere in your Workday or in your SAP. Mm-hmm. Right. So that has been a learning curve for us. But now we're getting to the point where these kind of projects are starting to, like, our learnings are basically allowing this to compress an implementation to, let's say, 1 to 2 months at an enterprise. Yep. Still customization, right? We are contemplating an out-of-the-box product for the more smaller end of the market, but that is maybe, it's more like a 2026 thing, if you ask me.
Yep. No, very interesting. And to be honest with you, I think sometimes people would actually prefer to have more of a concierge experience anyway, if it's particularly a significant change. So one thing I've noticed with recruitment automation generally is that there's a lot of want to, but there's not enough like actually implementing and doing it. And I think the big gap is because a service that you can just SaaS in is still too complicated. It's still a little bit more that we need. We need the assurance, we need the education, we need the confidence building. So I think there's that gap that still requires essentially a systems integration solution. So I think it'll be great. I mean, so just I think Scotty's actually added something there. So go ahead and click on that link, folks, if you want to check out more. But I think the lights are literally going off in this sort of booth. So we're going to have to finish this conversation at this point. But Reiner, before we leave this conversation right now, what's the one thing that you can say to a person that's thinking about doing some recruitment entrepreneurship? Is there a piece of advice you would give this person going forward?
Recruitment entrepreneurship, building a platform. Don't do it, because we already did.
I love it. I love it.
Join us in the farthest sense. The recruitment is going to change, so it's going to be dramatically exciting space. So I feel super privileged that I can talk to you. I talked also to others. So I'm amazed how top of mind this has become. Right. So for the sector, there's been a lot of things around recruitment itself, but it feels like we're in this blossom of people want to go somewhere. They have these ideas, things can be done. Right. So if you want to go on this, now's the time, to be honest, because in 2028, the dice will be fallen or have fallen. We'll see that a lot of the things that now were old and sort of like stale players or stale experiences, they will be gone. So if you want to change something there, you should be doing it like now's the time. It's never been so easy, to be honest, to do something really remarkable. It's also a risk, though, because this makes people run to the LLM du jour, or to the LLM of choice, and have this thing build them a little front end, or have this thing do a little trick, like a bear on a ball in a circus, and it looks really nice in the demo. But if you want to do something now, be aware that if you want to sell to like the part of the market where I believe it matters, so like large companies, enterprises, people where really recruitment is a like absolutely critical function to keep things like deliveries going, to keep healthcare, like that kind of things. If you want to do that, then you need to be aware that most of the stuff you will be doing won't be AI, but it will be enterprise integration and enterprise architecture. And it's going to be a painful journey down to business intelligence, over to change, over to, getting your stakeholders, make them understand that, what you're doing is cool and meaningful. But by all means, do it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, definitely now is the moment. Listen, Reiner, I could speak to you for another hour or so, but time is up. Final question for you before we let you go. What is next on today's agenda after this call, Reiner? What are you doing immediately after this call?
Immediately after this call, I'm talking to a client who is a staffing agency, and what they want to be doing is they want to be leveraging Scotty in a contact center context, where they are reselling Scotty to the market under their own label, leveraging our platform, which is a typical land of an expand. We've been doing recruitment for them. They are doing a lot of recruitment in contact center space, but they're also getting told they're being replaced by AI. And some very smart account executives there said, we have AI. And then they asked us, do we have AI? And we're like, you do?
There we go. Well, listen, good luck in that call, Reiner. Let me just thank you for your time. It's been wonderful speaking with you. I will make a trip to Utrecht, and we'll definitely have some drinks, and we'll talk more about the future of agentic, our AI agentic future. Reiner Bruns, wonderful having a conversation with you. You have a good day, sir.
Very, very grateful. Thanks, Han. Love talking to you. Let's hope to see you again. Bye-bye. Thanks all.
Wasn't that great, everybody? What a wonderful conversation. Reiner Bruns, CTO of Scotty AI. Check out Scotty AI if you are looking at enterprise recruitment automation. I think a very exciting proposition. And it looks like there is a sort of agile enough company to really just sort of meet with you and to provide that solution. This is not something that's going to take forever for you to implement. So it seems to me This is definitely a company worth having a conversation with. Okay, that's about it. We're going to be doing Brain Food Live on air this Friday. We're going to be talking about programmatic job advertising, and also the Founders Focus series continues. We're going to be talking about Max Armbruster Talk Push in a couple of weeks. So if you enjoy this type of conversation, make sure you follow the channel. We'll keep you updated as we go forward. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Cheers.